Hello and welcome back everyone to this new series on Python. This series of videos will help you take your skills from beginner to expert level in Python. Do not forget to hit the red subscribe button and the bell icon so that you are the first one to know whenever I upload any new video. In today's session, we will be discussing different types of variables that we have in Python. If you have not yet installed Jupyter Notebook in your machine, then I encourage everyone to first watch my previous video where I have discussed in detail all the steps to install Jupyter Notebook. You will see the link of that video on the top right corner, and I have also shared the link in the description below. Now, let's write our first line of code in Jupyter Notebook. Open a new notebook by clicking on New dropdown and select Python 3. You will observe that a new notebook will start to load in a new tab. Let's name this notebook. Let's give it a name, types of variables in Python. Click on rename. You will observe that the notebook has been renamed to types of variables in Python. Then this is a cell in which we will be writing our code. If we have to give a description about the code that we are writing in a particular cell, then we can write it after hashtag. So let's write here types of variables. Everything written after hashtag will be commented out. There are basically four different types of variables that we have in Python. The first one is int, next is float, third one is string variable, and the last one is bool variable. Let's have a look at these four types of variables one by one. I want everyone to write the code along with me, which will help you guys get familiar with Jupyter Notebook, and also you will be able to learn Python much quickly as compared to just watching these videos. So to run a particular cell, you can either click run, or we have a shortcut shift plus enter. So there is a list of different shortcuts that I'll be using in Jupyter Notebook. You can see the list of all those shortcuts by going to help, and here you will see option keyboard shortcuts. Here you will see the list of all the shortcuts that we can use in Jupyter Notebook. Few of these shortcuts I will be telling you as we progress through the videos. So the first one is integer, that is int. So integers are the whole numbers including positive and negative numbers. They do not include any decimal numbers. In Python, we assign a certain value to a variable in this way. First, give a variable name, say x, equal to 2. So a value 2 has been assigned to a variable x. Here, we don't have to initialize the variable. Python will automatically understand that it is a variable of int type. You can think of a variable as a container that will be storing the value that you assign to it. Here, we have defined a variable x that acts as a container and stores value 2 in it. Now to run this cell, click on run or press shift plus enter on your keyboard. So the cell has run successfully and a new cell will be created just below this cell. Now to see the output of this variable, write x and again press shift plus enter. Now you will see that value 2 has been stored in variable x. Now to know the type of this variable, we use a function that we have in Python, type, and within parentheses we will write the variable name, that is x, and again press shift plus enter. You will see that x is a variable of int type. So to know the type of any variable in Python, we will be using this type function. The second type of variable is float. Now let's come to the next cell and write here hashtag float. Float include numbers with a decimal. Let's create a new variable y and assign a value 2.5 and press shift plus enter. Now to check value stored in variable y, write y and again press shift plus enter. Value 2.5 is stored inside the variable y. Now to know the type of variable y, write down type and within parentheses give the name of the variable y. Again press shift enter. Here you can observe that y is a variable of float type. You can easily override any variable with a new value. Suppose now you have to give value 4.5 to variable y. So just write down y equal to 4.5 and press shift enter. Now if you will check the value that is stored in y, it will come out to be 4.5. So Python will automatically override the value 2.5 and replace it with 4.5. As I told you before that you can think of variable as a container. So the value 2.5 that was previously stored in container y or variable y, Python has replaced the value 2.5 with 4.5. The third type of variable is string variable. From the name you can guess that it is used to store strings like characters, words. Uh, let's create a new variable z and assign the value Python to it. So to give the name of any string, we have to enclose it within double quotes or single quotes. Press shift enter. Now to see the value stored in z, type z and press shift enter. Python is stored in variable z, so you can even give single quotes instead of double. Let me give here single quotes. Just select the text and click on single quotes. Again press shift enter. Again press shift enter. You will observe that same value Python is stored inside variable z. To get the type of variable, we will use type function. Within parentheses give the variable name that is z and again press shift enter. Here you can observe that z is of string type. So just remember one thing, that if we have to define any string, we will have to enclose it within single or double quotes. Now the last variable is bool. Boolean values include true and false value. So create a new variable a and assign a value true to it. Press shift enter. Write the variable name a and again press shift enter. The value true is stored in variable a. Now to know the type of variable a, we will use type function and again press shift enter. A is of bool type. Now you have to make sure that T for true is in caps, and similarly if you have to write false, F will be capital and rest in small. Press shift enter. Now A has value false stored in it. To know the type of variable A, press shift enter and you will again observe that A is of bool type. So first we had stored value true inside A, then we replaced it with false. So in this way we can replace any variable with a new value. Now let's try few examples that will help you to get a better understanding of different types of variables. Let me create a new variable, say b, and assign a value to. You can also write multiple lines of code in a single cell. So instead of writing b in the next cell, I can press enter and write here b and then press shift enter. We were able to write two lines of code in a single cell and 2 is stored in variable b. Okay, first let's check the type of variable b. As many of you might have guessed that it will be of int type. Now let me replace the value stored in b with some other value. Let's write 2.5. Press enter, write b and again press shift enter. The value 2 that was previously stored in variable b has been replaced with value 2.5. Now the type of variable b will be float. So earlier it was int as value 2 was stored in b. Now we have stored value 2.5 inside variable b and you can easily guess that it's a decimal number. So the type of variable is float. Lastly, let's see the naming conventions of the variables. Like when we declare any variable, what are the valid names that we can give to the variable? Most of the languages follow these naming conventions. So first is variable names can be alphanumeric. That means we can have a mix of numbers and characters in a variable. Let's define a new variable name, say x2 and assign a value 20. Press enter, write down x2 and again press shift enter. You will observe that the cell has run successfully and a value 20 is stored in variable x2. Now x2 is a variable that is alphanumeric, that is it has a mix of characters and a number. Next, hashtag no special characters are allowed except for underscore. Let's see an example for this one. I'll create a new variable, say y underscore and assign a value 2 to it. Write down y underscore and press shift enter. The cell has ran successfully and value 2 is stored in our variable y underscore. But instead of y, if we use any other special character like at and write here y at, we are getting an error of invalid syntax. So no special characters can be used in naming a variable. Next naming convention is variable names cannot start with a number. They can start with underscore but not with a number. Let's see an example. I'll create a new variable x1 and assign a value 2 to it, x1 and press shift enter. Cell has ran successfully. That means the x1 is a valid name that we can give to a variable. Now let's start it with a number 1x and press shift enter. Again we are getting invalid syntax error. So make sure variable names do not start with a number. We can start a variable name with the underscore. Let's see what will happen if we write underscore x. The cell has again run successfully. That means it's a valid variable name. But as a good practice, do not use underscore at the start of the variable name. Give a relevant variable name like x, y. So this was all that I had to cover in this session. Now you have idea about the four different types of variables that we have in Python. They are int, next is float, the third one is string, and the last one is bool. I encourage everyone to play around with these variables, and I hope this session was useful. See you in the next video.